Hello, how's it going today? I am going to be talking about the pros and cons to living in a small town in a Midwest, like Southwest Missouri, Northwest Arkansas, maybe even over a little like kind of Oklahoma. Let's talk about it. All right, so my name is Courtney and welcome to my channel. If you are new around here, I would love for you to stick around, so please be sure to subscribe. And if you could help me out by giving this video a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. All right, so let's get into the topic of this video is small town. Now I have lived in I have lived in Southwest Missouri, and I have lived in Southeast Missouri. I have lived in Northeast Oklahoma and Northwest Arkansas. Yes, all of that, just kind of all in that area. I'll try and put a map up to show the areas. Let's talk about these areas. Mostly Southeast Missouri is kind of where I am basing this video, and I want to talk about the pros and cons to living in this area. I will start out by saying overall, we love it. We love this area, but there are cons, but there's cons to everywhere. So there's really no perfect place. You got to find the one that just works for you. So I have a list. All right, so the first pro that I have, this is like awkward. All right, the first pro that I have is it is a small town feel. I really like the area overall. Like when you go to Walmart or when you are just out and about doing things, you usually will run into people you know. Especially in the area I live in. I don't live in a bigger city. Like Springfield would be the big city probably near us. I don't live in a bigger city area like that. I live in a smaller town, and you almost always are going to run into people you know. And I actually like that. It gives me a sense of security. I feel like if I were to have trouble, if there was like a flat tire on my car, or if I felt threatened, or just anything weird, I feel like there is probably somebody I know not too far away from me. And so it'd be easy for me to find someone like physically right there, or call somebody and know that somebody would be really close by that could help me out. So I really like knowing a lot of people when I'm out and about. I just feel like it makes me feel safer. All right, so a con, we'll go back and forth. A con to living in a smaller community like this is it's expensive to leave. So and I mean to go on vacation, just to get out of town, it's expensive and it's hard to get out of town because we have the closest airport to us would be in Springfield, and they don't have that many flights or airlines that fly out of there, and the few that do are really expensive. And then if you travel to an even bigger city like Kansas City or St. Louis, if you go down towards Arkansas, you have Little Rock, it is quite a bit of a travel just to get to one of those cities, and then you have the expense still of flying and everything. So trying to go on vacations and get out of town, it's not easy. You can't just be like, oh, we'll just run over here. It's a little bit of a planning, and it is more expensive than if you live in a big city and have access to an airport regularly. All right, so let's hop back over to a pro, and that is city sports. Now, I can't completely say what this is like compared to like bigger cities, because my kids have never done city sports in a big city, but from like my childhood and from what I've seen, big city sports, I mean, I'm sure they're fine, but they're not the same as small town sports. So like what I love about small town city sports is every year my kids usually end up playing with several other children that they know, even though they don't go to school together, because they've played the same city sports year after year together. And so since there aren't that many kids in the area, you end up getting to know a lot of people in the area. So even though my children are homeschooled, they still know a good portion of the children in town. I feel like maybe not really well, but they know of them. And almost every time we do a sport that's here in town, they know quite a few of the kids on their team, or we know the kids they're playing, and it just makes it nice because, again, you go back to that whole everyone kind of has an idea of who everyone is. You kind of have a feel for that. So I really like that. A lot of times they'll get the same coaches, which this could be true, I guess, for big cities too. Like I said, I don't really have experience with it, but I do have experience with small town city sports, and I really enjoy small town city sports. I have found it very enjoyable to be involved in and watch my kids and get to know the other kids in town that way. So I have enjoyed that. Okay, so a con, and kind of sticking a little bit with the homeschool thing, is there's not quite as many opportunities for homeschoolers in a small town. We have opportunities still where, we have a co-op, they do city sports. There's other things that you can do around, especially as they get into high school, there are some other things around that they can do. But when I was homeschooled in high school in a big city, I grew up in Denver, there was so many things. You could do pretty much anything and everything the public schoolers could do as a homeschooler. So you really did not have any disadvantage at all when it came to activities as a homeschooler. And I feel like in a small town, that's not quite as true. While they can still do things, if they want to play sports or do that avenue, it is a little more challenging to find that for them. And you can, but it's more challenging. So that would be a con, is homeschooling does not, you don't have as many opportunity homeschooling. All right, let's go back to a pro. And the pro for me is everything is close. I love that pretty much everything that I need to do and want to do is within, I'd say a 5-mile radius. I really do not have to go very far at all if I don't want to. Now, obviously I can drive further and do things, and we like to venture out and do other things, but my day-to-day, if I want, I can do everything just about a stone throw away, and I love that. I love having everything really close. It makes things so convenient, and it's just really nice. Now, kind of on the flip side to that, as the con, is it can also be harder to shop because while everything I need is right here, because I have everything I need, things that maybe I want are not right here. So like I have a Walmart super close to me which sells everything I would need, but if there is a certain like clothing item or shoe or a bag that is maybe a little higher end, it is not accessible to me. Our clothing stores and stores, honestly, that would go a little bit above of needs are fewer and harder to find. When I lived in the big city, almost any store you could imagine was there, and you could go and shop and find what you wanted. Where here, we are much more limited in kind of just your basics like Walmart. And then there's obviously, if I go a little bit further out of my little area, there are some other opportunities to shop and stuff, but still nothing major. Like we don't even have a Nordstrom's nearby. I'd say Dillard's is probably the nicest we have, and our Dillard's doesn't carry the stuff that I would really like. Like the Dillard's in Denver is amazing, but our Dillard's is just okay. I don't know. So anyway, if you really like to shop and you like to shop stuff that's not Walmart necessarily, your pickings are a little slimmer here. But like I said, not that you can't find anything. It's just not as many places to go and check out. So, but we do have everything we need. I mean, there's even like a Hobby Lobby and, bookstores and like anything I absolutely need is nearby. So, but yeah, just not as many choices. And you can shop online, obviously, in today's world. I am just not a huge online shopper. I really like to touch it and feel it. But since that's not an option, since that's not always an option here, I do find myself ordering online more than I would if I could probably go to the store. Okay, so last pro is it is less expensive to live in this area than other parts of the country. And I will say that seems to be changing pretty quickly. I feel like it used to be a lot more expensive to live, say like somewhere like Denver, than it is here. And I feel like that gap is closing, but it is still more affordable to live here than it would be to live in a big city. So that is a really nice pro, I feel like, especially if you have a larger family. It just gives us more opportunity to live a better quality of life than if we were to live in a bigger city. But it's all in what you want. Like if traveling a lot and having a lot of stuff close by is more important to you than maybe a bigger house, you would probably think the other way. But our houses are a little cheaper here, and food is hit or miss. I actually sometimes will find some food is cheaper here, but then other food is cheaper, like in Denver. So my family still is out there, so I travel to Denver regularly. But anyway, so that's kind of hit or miss. But even things like city sports are cheaper than what I see there. I don't know. So it's kind of a toss up. Some things are cheaper and others aren't, but housing is definitely cheaper, and that's usually your big expense. Rent is usually cheaper, and again, that's one of your bigger expenses. So that is a pro. It is less expensive to live in a smaller community. Okay, a con though is there's not as much to do, which I don't know. It's kind of like these pros and cons are all like contradicting. Like some of the things I like are also some of the things I dislike. But anyway, so what I mean by not as much to do is things that like concerts that travel through, things like Disney on Ice, Broadway shows that travel. We do get some every now and then come through Springfield, but very few and far compared to if you live in a bigger city. St. Louis, they get a lot more. Denver gets a lot more. If you live in one of those bigger cities, you are going to have things like that almost always. We're here, there's not many to choose from. And that travel through. And then if you're looking at things that are just stationary here, again, we just don't have as many things as a bigger city. We do have, like a zoo that's nearby and an aquarium that's nearby. So there are some things, but, from living in a big city compared to here, there's just so much to go and explore in the big city. It keeps you a lot busier than here. But this is not part of my list, but I will put this as a pro. If you are really a lake person, Missouri may be a really nice place for you, or at least this part of Missouri, because there are lots of lakes around. So that is probably actually a pro if you really like being out on the lake. There are lots of lakes and boating things and stuff to do like that. So it all kind of depends on, I guess, what you're looking for. So yeah, those are my pros and cons to living in a smaller community in this part of the country. I'll try and put that picture up. So yeah, what do you think? Where do you live, or the area you live in? What are some pros and cons to living there? Do you prefer a big city? Do you prefer a small town? I would love to hear what you guys think. I know there's some great things about both places, and there's some not so great things about both places. I have done it all. I have been in the big city and I have done the small town. So yeah, I like it all. You can always find something to explore. Sometimes it's just a little harder to find than others. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.